Alright guys, so there's been a lot of talk about everything that is going on with Shadowlands. There's a lot of class changes and there's something new coming out called Covenants. I'm not too sure how I feel about Covenants. Basically, I think there's 3 or 4 to choose from and you get one ability at the end of some sort of, I don't know if it's quest chain or rep farm. That could definitely, spell some problems from my point of view. Maybe there's Abyss Covenant for PvE. Maybe there's a Abyss Covenant for PvP. Maybe one of the Covenants get nerfed and all the time you put into farming one ends up not being worth it. And then you got to put everything else, all your resources in a farming rep for another one. I'm not really 100% sure how it works, but it sounds kind of freaky. I don't really like the idea of a ability locked behind either reputation or some sort of grinding. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know, either Azerite Power or, the artifact system where it feels like you're missing, an essential before you can feel like your class is fully unlocked. And on top of that, I don't know. I feel like it could be really wonky if you want to change, if you even can change. I'm going to try and be optimistic and maybe just look at Covenants almost like a talent tree. You can't have this one if you have that one. So we'll try and go into it and be optimistic. But before I get into Covenants, I want to talk about the class changes. Then after the class changes, I would like to go into the specifics of what people are getting back in terms of baseline abilities, in terms of talents, things like that. Since Mist of Pandaria moving from WoD to Legion to BFA, it's been about pruning abilities and Blizzard going for what they called, class identity and what they focused on, which was spec identity. A Frost Mage didn't have Fire Blast. A Fire Mage didn't have Cone of Cold. What that ended up doing was making your characters feel very one-dimensional, very bland, and it kind of just like emptied out your action bars. And unfortunately, on top of that, Blizzard tried to, I'm not really sure why, I guess simplify the game, and it felt like what they were doing is they made rotations incredibly easy, essentially one-dimensional, few button rotations, and they kind of stripped down most utility, and it feels like a lot of classes are getting their utility only from honor talents, things like Disarm, things like Grounding Totem, things like Void Shift, stuff like that. So we're hoping that they bring that utility and bring the flavor back into the classes, and then maybe they can work on new honor talents. I'm not a big fan of honor talents, we'll talk about that another time, but that way when you're picking, these talents, it feels like you're not getting stuff that you had in the past. It feels really terrible from a Shaman point of view when my talents are literally Grounding Totem and Earth Shield. It's like I've had these things for a decade, and now I have to spec into them, and I don't get anything new, question mark. So we'll see what Blizzard decides to do. So we're going to start off with Shadowlands class philosophy. This is actually a lot here, and I'm pretty bad at reading publicly, so work with me. Shadowlands class philosophy. Classes have evolved throughout WoW's 15 years of development. Some would say evolved. Some wouldn't. And so have our philosophies on class design. With new expansions and increasing level cap with new spells, abilities, and talents, while earning new powers is exciting as a natural part of growth in role-playing game, eventually began to butt up against the limits of action bar and accessible keybind space, and many of the tools and perks that once had defined certain classes became increasingly widespread, diminishing class uniqueness. I'm not 100% sure if I agree on this. I think some of it, to an extent, is definitely true. If you had every single ability from vanilla to current day WoW, I've said this many times, you would need multiple action bars, you would need 14 arms, you would need a foot pedal and a steering wheel to keybind everything. Like, there is definitely a point where they needed to trim some fat, but these guys left you with only the bones. To address this in the past, we made changes to talents with Mist of Pandaria and even removed several abilities in Warlords of Draenor. In Legion, alongside with the introduction of artifact weapons, we focus on class identity and carving out a distinct fantasy for each specialization to go along with their weapon. Mechanically, this meant revamps to most of the specializations, removing several long-standing class-wide abilities and adding new spec-specific abilities in the process. So this is what I was talking about. They kind of cut down everything. Like, for example, Subtlety rogues lost poisons, alright? I come from a time where every rogue had poisons at level 20. It's just something that, even if the class was awesome, it just feels wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you wanted to be a master assassin and specialize Pleb Central out of this part out. Specialize. I can't say that word. If you want to... Moving on. Why can't I say this word? If you want to specialize... If you want to specialize in poisons, your poisons can be stronger in assassination, okay? NA education. But they can still exist for the other specs. Today in Battle for Azeroth, while specializations have unique and flashy abilities, we've heard feedback that in some cases we move too far from the core of the class abilities and initially spark players' interest when they first create their characters. At times, there's more that divides two specializations of the same class than there is that unites them. In Shadowlands, we want to return the idea that a specialization is about powering up a specific part of the class's kit, not narrowing down their tool set. So let's get a round of applause for that. That is one of the best things they could do. An expansion that is all about choice. And this might not sound like a powerful sentence, but it feels like more and more so Blizzard is removing our choice from everything, you know, including in, you know, the last few expansions vendors. We also want to give players more opportunities to make impactful choices, customize their gameplay, and express their own vision of how their character engage in combat. Many specialization-specific abilities and spells that help define the class, define the identity of a class will once again be available class-wide, which is fantastic. We're introducing some iconic abilities to give all Azeroth's heroes a fighting chance against dangers ahead. In addition to these changes, players will now have the Covenant class abilities to look forward to, which we preview comprehensively in our Shadowlands, a look at Covenant class signature abilities blog. We're going to take a look at that. Today we'd like to give you a look at some of what's in store for each class, including our overall goals, some cool new and returning powers, and some key changes to abilities and talents. This isn't meant to be a comprehensive list of updates. These changes represent a starting point, which is really good to know because this means that they are willing to add in more. This is not final, and they are most likely willing to hear feedback on what they can return or what they should return. But this should give you a good overview of what to expect. All right. So right here is a bunch of, I guess, I don't know if it's class philosophy or what. We'll go over each and every one of them, I think. I feel like this is kind of pretty cool stuff to look at. I don't know everything about every single class, but we'll take a look together. So let's go and start with Death Knights. Former champions of Lich King, Death Knights overwhelm their foes. I don't know if I really... Okay, yeah. I was going to say, I don't know if I really need to read this. I'm not sure if this is just like a... kind of like a lore thing, or if it's actually what it's talking about. Legion Death Knights became very narrowly focused thematically around their spec. For example, Frost Death Knights having an overwhelming majority of their spells be Frost-only themed. In Shadowlands, we are unifying the core Death Knight kit by restoring many abilities back to all specs. This is really, really awesome. Once these changes are live, all Death Knights will be able to desecrate the ground around them with unholy magic to deal damage to their enemies with Death and Decay. That's a really good change. Only... actually, Frost didn't have Death and Decay before, but it's nice to have abilities. So just for example, like, if you want to stop a re-stealth on a Frost Decay, you can't really do that. You know, it might not seem like a major thing, but it's actually another ability that gives you the potential to outplay opponents. You could stop drinks, you could stop re-stealth, stuff like that, or neutralize attacks with Anti-Magic Zone. Anti-Magic Zone is currently a PvP talent. To see it come back baseline is a fantastic change. It's utility. You love to see that. You can use it in dungeons, you could use it in raids, you could use it in PvP. Every Death Knight will once be able to again tap into unnatural powers to temporarily turn themselves undead with Lichborn. Once again, another PvP talent. I'm not sure what it's going to do in this expansion right now. It replaces Icebound Fortitude, which gives you the damage reduction, but Lichborn also is known to make you an undead target, so you can use that, and you can't be sapped as an undead, I think. Maybe you can be sapped as an undead. No, I don't think you can be sapped as an undead. I'm not 100% sure. But you can't be sheeped as an undead, but you can be shackled as an undead, so there's kind of outplay mechanics there. Or use Raise Dead to summon a ghoul servant to fight alongside them, so once again, Frost is going to have a ghoul that's pretty cool. The new Sacrificial Pack ability allows Death Knights to perform a forbidden ritual, sacrificing one of their undead minions, siphoning their health, and causing them to explode to deal damage to nearby enemies. I'm pretty sure this has been in the game before. I don't remember what it's called. Explode Zombie, maybe. I have no idea. Finally, the Frost Grasp of Chains of Ice will once again bind the enemies of all Death Knights. The Frosty Graph of Chains of Ice. Oh, Corpse Explosion, that's what it's called. Oh, Chains of Ice wasn't there for blood. So Blood, at home in Shadowlands, Blood Knights can learn abilities. Blood Tap allows Death Knights to consume essences from slain enemies, generate 1 rune. I guess, honestly, what I might be reading here is this. So I guess I don't actually need this. I think, actually, I could just read this from here. So, Rune Tap. I don't really know much about Blood, so I'm not going to lie. I'm not really too interested in reading it. Relish in Blood will significantly heal these bloody bruisers for each active Bone Shield charge and grant 5 runic power. I don't... oh my god. I'm sorry. This is something that I feel very strongly about. I kind of skipped right over Blood, and I just saw Frost, and I saw two-handed weapon, and Blizzard has, for a long time, taken away the option of using two-handed weapons as a Frost Death Knight. If you guys played Frost Death Knight and Wrath of the Lich King, you know that Frost Strike and Obliterate could absolutely beat the shit out of your opponent. And having two one-handeds just didn't feel the same. Now, I kind of like the idea of maybe dual wield being better for PvE, two-hand being better for PvP, but having the decision to choose that yourself is incredible. I haven't scrolled down to Enhance yet, but I can only dream that Enhance gets two-handed back as well. That could be really cool. Memories of the Lich King's legendary sword, Frostmourne, stirs the heart of Frost Death Knights who can choose between two one-handed weapons and a two-handed weapon to cut down their foes. The harsh lessons learned in the frozen tundra Northrend have manifested into new abilities and talents. The iconic Frostworm's Fury will be accessible to all Frost Death Knights, which I believe is the dragon, Sindragosa's Fury, that literally just shoots down and just murders everyone, rather than need to be selected as a talent. So that's a really cool ability in my opinion. It's got a ton of burst potential, and it's accessible to all Frost Death Knights. So that sounds like a... it doesn't sound like it. It's going to be a Frost only. Hyperthermic Presence is now a new talent that halves the runic power cost of abilities for a moderate amount of time, giving a Death Knight the vigor to strike down. This could be insane with Breath. I'm not really sure how that's going to play out, but halving the runic power cost of all abilities, maybe that works with Breath, so you could just get a... you could get an insane Breath going on. So I'm also, once again, really excited for Unholy here. Unholy Death Knight have chosen the not this again. We're going to skip over that word. Unholy Death Knights will be able to summon a Gargoyle, previously a talent. Summon Gargoyle, in my opinion, is something that we've been missing out on this entire expansion. I actually raided on Death Knight. In Legion, and getting those gigantic gargoyles were one of the most fun things about the spec for me. So having the iconic gargoyle back to the spec is awesome. I currently feel like DKs are missing like that, that punch. It doesn't feel like they kind of have that burst potential right now. Unholy Frenzy gives you a bunch of necrotics. Doesn't feel the same. Army of the Damned returns as even a stronger force with familiar and faithful recruits. Magus of the Dead, that's already in the game. I'm going to skim read a little bit here. Magus of the Dead's already in the game. Oh, you know what? I think Magus of the Dead might actually be an Azerite trait, so maybe it's just coming now as like a baseline. Death Coil and Epidemic cast will reduce the Army of Dead's cooldown. I believe this is also a talent, allowing Unholy Death Knights to summon forth a relentless stream of monstrosities into battle, which is really cool. Magus Dead will also fight by Death Knight's side when they cast Apocalypse. That's also in the game. Dreadblade. Mastery. Okay, will benefit both Masters served by increasing Death Knight's shadow damage and the damage of their ghoulish minions. Okay, so I don't know if this is actually in the game. I don't know if their minions actually get benefited by Mastery. I'm not 100% sure of that. I think it's just shadow damage. So this is obviously, I believe, just a starting point on what we're reading, but Gargoyle coming back is the only thing I'm really seeing here. Frostworm's Fury is going to be big. Two-handed Frost could be big. I would like to see more for Unholy, but a good start. Now, one of the things I'm actually excited for here is reading the changes for the Demon Hunter, because Demon Hunter has never existed in a time before it was pruned. It started as a pruned class. So what can they add to Demon Hunters to make it feel like it's full? Demon Hunters are traditionally known as of right now as one of the easiest classes in terms of rotation, although they are really fun. So we'll have to see what Blizzard wants to do to them. All Demon Hunters now share single resources, which is Fury. I don't even know what the tank one had. In addition, Immolation Aura will be available to both specs. I don't know if that matters at all. Basically, that's a tank thing. I don't even know which one's which. I think Havoc is, Havoc's a DPS one. Unending Hatred, which expands their Fury's maximum capacity, letting them get an extra hit in or two. This sounds pretty useless unless they do something to make Fury feel like, unless they make Fury kind of feel like it's useful. Like right now, you instantly get full Fury and you could just unload it. So having a increased Fury cap seems pretty useless unless it changes. The Dark Slash talent is evolved into Essence Break, which deals chaos damage and significantly increases the damage of both Chaos Strike and Blade Dance for a short duration. Dark Slash is pretty useful right now. We'll have to see if Essence Break is going to be used. Oh, excuse me. Dark Slash is useless right now. Essence Break just seems like a vamped up version of Dark Slash. Doesn't actually seem too interesting. So far from what I've seen with Demon Hunter, we're going to need to see a lot more. Nothing really too exciting there. I don't even really care to go into tanks, guys. I'm sorry. I'm a PvP person only. I just don't care. All druids will be able to use Ferocious Bite, Bark Skin, Cyclone, Stampeding Roar, and Iron Fur, regardless of their active specialization. Wow, this is really big. So Bark Skin has been gone for Feral for a long time. Ferals, you can finally rejoice. I think Ferals have been a squishy target for quite some time now. Cyclone has been available to all druids, but it's been a spec. So everyone, rejoice in that regard. Stampeding Roar is a utility that you can bring as a Resto Druid or a Boomkin now. Everyone feel free to rejoice. Ferocious Bite, sure, not super exciting, whatever. Iron Fur, not super exciting, but, these three, in my opinion, are really nice adds. Heart of the Wild is returned as a talent, providing an option for druids who want to use off-roll abilities during combat. This was really cool, in my opinion, in Mists of Pandaria. It also increased your healing. I'm not sure if it's still going to do so. But Heart of the Wild was a really, really awesome high skill cap ability. It allowed you... So basically right now, I feel like everyone thinks Cat Affinity Druids are a little busted. Heart of the Wild is like Cat Affinity Druid on crack, but on a cooldown. So it's pretty cool. The affinity talents associated with each specialization also gain additional utility. Balance receives Typhoon. That's pretty cool. Feral gets Maim. That seems really annoying. Guardian Druid gets Incapacitating Roar. Oh no, this seems like a fucking nightmare. And Restoration can use Ursul's Vortex. Alright, so here's what I would like to discuss about this. Guardian Druids, well, Resto Druids playing Guardian Affinity, rolling up to your healer, just hitting with a bash into a clone into Incapacitating Roar. Have fun, Rogue Mage. Have fun. It's gonna be a pain in the ass. I'm not gonna sit here and complain about it because I feel like fun goes over balance at this point, and then maybe Incapacitating Roar needs a DR or something in the future. We'll have to see. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I do like to see it. Solar and lunar empowerments are being strengthened and updated into eclipses, reminiscent of past expansions like Wrath of Lich King. I don't know how Boomkin worked in Wrath of Lich King. Starfire will grant alternating lunar and solar eclipses for a longer duration. I think I vaguely remember this now. With special moments, celestial alignment allowing both to occur at once. Balance druids are mastering these, blah blah blah. Star Surge will extend the eclipse. Okay. Starfall instead extends your current Moonfire and Sunfire effects. So it sounds like Starfall is changing quite a bit. I'm not sure how Star Surge is going to work. Starfall will return to its previous design. I'm really happy to see this right now, used from Wrath of Lich King. So it's going to be, from what I understand, Starfall is going to be a cooldown. When used to press Starfall, it was a lot of damage instead of just like the shitty version of Starfall that we have now, where it just kind of feels useless. You can literally spam it and spam it and spam it. It doesn't feel like it's doing anything. Blood Talons, talent reimagined. Tapping into the Primal Peril and Feral Druids, you Shred, Rake, and Ferocious Bite in quick succession. The damage of the next rip will increase dramatically. I don't play Feral. I don't know if that's exciting or not. Guardian Druids, the only person reading this right now is Supatees. Swiftman will return to its historic function of consuming a heal over time effect on the target, but with a substantial reduced cooldown and cost. Okay. For the moments of special need, the classic restoration... Yo, hold on a second. If Resto Druids get Nature Swiftness back, and my Shaman doesn't get Nature Swiftness back, I am not a happy person. Okay? I'm not a happy person. I'm just letting you know right now. That will piss me off. Alright? I'm not reading chat. So... Swift Mana will return to its historic function of consuming heal over time, but with a substantially reduced cooldown and cost. I think I read increased originally. So Swiftmen's kind of going back to the old Swiftmen. Right now, Swiftmen kind of feels like the NS. NS is coming back for Resto Druids. Regrowth, Rebirth, Entangling Roots. Wait, why is it not saying, like, Healing Touch? Is Healing Touch removed right now? Do Resto Druids not have Healing Touch? Maybe that's why. Okay. It also doesn't say Cyclone, but whatever. I assume it's going to work with everything. Consuming with the Wild Spirits and Death's Realms Awaken, Resto Druids, Inert Knowledge to cast Nourish, a talent option that heals for an ally for an insignificant amount. Nourish receives triple the boon for mastery. What? Okay, that seems pretty ridiculous. Well, I don't know if that is ridiculous, but that seems pretty good. It's going to be a talent, though. As of right now, it's an honor talent, so maybe this is fair if it goes into the regular talents. I'm getting Doggy Dizos right now. Hunters. Guys, I really don't know much about Hunters. I must say I'm happy to see the change for Resto Druid. I already feel like just based off what I see, the class is going to have a lot more flavor. Stampeding Roar is going to be a way to kind of get away or to get in. You have another way to get your teammates out of roots. You have another way to kind of escape if you're in trouble. You could play Incapacitating Roar, which is going to be great for getting CC or used defensively. You could even play Feral Affinity, and you could get additional stuns, which is actually probably maybe even going to be better, in my opinion. So that's pretty awesome from what I'm seeing. You know, do I think Resto Druids are going to be overpowered? Only time will tell. Who knows? But Nature's Swiftness coming back, that gives you NS clones. You know, that's already a game changer in itself. Gives you NS heals, that's a game changer in itself. Swiftmen returning to the original functionality of consuming a hot. I'm not really sure. That sounds fine in my opinion. Alright, Hunters, guys. I don't know anything about Hunters. Arcane Shot, Eyes of the Beast, Hunter's Mark, Kill Shot, Scare Beast, Tranquil will be available. All Hunters. I'm going to be honest. I don't play Hunter. I think this is probably pretty... Can you guys leave me alone? I'm recording a YouTube video here, huh? How am I supposed to feed you guys if I can't work? I don't know about Arcane Shot, but I think Hunter's Mark, Kill Shot, Scare Beast, all these are Tranquilizing Shot. Is that a purge? Is that a purge? Come on, get down. Get off the chair. Is that a purge? I'm not sure, but I think this is probably something that Hunters are pretty excited to see, specifically the Kill Shot. People in my chat are, people in my chat are saying Trank Shot is a purge. I think that's fine. To prepare to fight ahead, Hunters will have their stable size significantly increased. I don't know if this is a big deal or not. Beast Mastery. Bloodshed is a new talent. Beast Mastery Hunters can teach their companions, commanding the beast to tear into their target. The Unfortunate Quarry will bleed significantly. Just seems like a talent to do a lot of damage, sure, whatever. Talents being reimagined. The passive now activates when Bestial Wrath is used, granting 2 charges of Barb Shot. I don't know if that is good or not. Venomous Bites take the place of Spitting Cobra. Comes with a twist. When Bestial Wrath ends, a Cobra will come to the aid of the Hunter in combat. The Serpent's power will increase based on how many times you use Cobra Shot during Bestial Wrath. It's interesting. I'm not sure if it's going to be good or not. I'll be right back. Boys, come on. Get out. Go, 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 go. I can't believe how much stuff I'm reading right now. Alright, Marksman. I think Marksman is probably going to be one of... I don't want to say, like, controversial, but I feel like Marksman's one of the specs right now that people are pretty disappointed with. So we'll have to see. Master Sharpshooters can empower Kill Shot with Deadeye, a new talent that lets a hunter store 2 charges of Kill Shot. It also makes Aim Shot recharge faster for a short time when Kill Shot's used. So maybe this is going to be like some sort of supreme execute with 2 charges of Kill Shot. If you get Kill Shot range, maybe you're just going to instantly die. As a healer, I must say I am really excited to hear that. Binding Shackles is a new passive talent that causes enemies rooted by their baseline Binding Shot to deal less damage to the hunter for a short time after being released from the root. That seems like a great source of utility. Basically, you drop a Binding Shot. When they get out, they do less damage. Wonderful. Volley's a new talent that causes Marksman Hunter rain down arrows. This is old school. I don't know if this is good or not. Survival. I don't really know anything about survival, but are refining their skills, improving their weapons and gadgets. Expect to see the damage increase. This seems kind of boring if I'm being honest, right? It's like, you know, all these abilities are coming back. You know, all this is coming back, and it just says survival. Expect to see damage increases. Lame. Mages manipulate many schools of magic, but force their powers on one in particular. We feel it's very important for mages to have access to all spells from Arcane Fire and Frost. I I hate mages and I hate rogues, but I 100% agree. Especially for utility purposes. Even if their damage rotation draws primarily from a single source. And support this, we're making more spells from all 3 schools class-wide. That's great news. We felt that Arcane Mage's damage rotation lacked a focal moment that results in a big payoff, as such as the combo rotation is undergoing significant redesign that looks to add to retaining the overall flow. Okay, wonderful. Arcane Explosion, Fire Blast, Frostbolt, Mirror Image are once again available to all specialization, and Fireward and Frostward return to bolster Mage's defenses. I see nothing wrong with that. I actually see that as pretty good. So, if you were Arcane Explosion, I don't think there's going to be much use for that. Maybe a little bit instant damage. Maybe a way to kill off something insignificant. What am I doing right now? I'm pressing tab. I don't know, like, just off the top of my head, Snake Trap, if that even exists anymore. I don't even think that exists anymore. I don't know. Fire Blast, great for killing grounding totems. One thing I have to ask about Fire Blast is Fire Blast as fire can be cast while casting. Is that the same for all the other stuff? And if so, does that change much? I feel like the only thing that really does is screw over grounding totem, which is, you know, once again, super exciting. Frostbolt, I think having a way to slow people is good, but I don't necessarily know if it's important. Maybe it is for fire, but I must say, if you're an Arcane Mage and you get kicked, being able to cast a Frostbolt sounds nice. If you're an Arcane Mage and you get kicked, being able to cast a Fire Blast sounds nice. If you are a Frost Mage and you get kicked on Frostbolt, being able to cast a Fire Blast sounds nice. So just adding a little bit extra in there that is probably not going to be over the top. Just gives you a little bit more options, you know. If you're a Arcane Mage and you're just getting beat to hell and you're getting spam kicked on Arcane, sure, you can cast a Frostbolt. I see no harm in that. Fireward, Frostward returning. I really feel like this doesn't do much except for Mage v Mage and maybe hurts Destro Warlocks a little bit, which I am all for. So I'm pretty happy to see these changes. I think these aren't game-breaking, but I do think that they add a little bit of flavor, which is fine. Alter Time, probably one of... I played Mage and Mop. I'm not going to say I was good at it. You know, you guys may have known me as Frost Reels. You know, 2700 Mage, no big deal. I think this is really awesome. I think Alter Time was probably one of the coolest abilities they ever introduced to the game. The fact that it only lasted one expansion is, it's a sin. So, Alter Time coming back offensively, defensively, you can make huge plays with it in terms of positioning. It is so, so cool. I love to see it. If you guys don't know what Alter Time is, how do I explain this to you? Basically, you kind of freeze yourself in time, and then in 5 seconds you rewind. So, it works with procs. So if you're a Frost Mage and you have your on-use trinket up and you have 2 Ice Lance procs and you have a Frost Firebolt proc, you just go boom, boom, boom. And then you rewind and then you get it all again. Boom, 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 boom. It doesn't say procs anymore. Okay, maybe it doesn't work with procs anymore. If so, that kind of ruins the entire awesome offensive part of Alter Time. And then it's just, now it's just full defense, which is still okay, but less cool, so whatever. That's kind of lame. All mages can also learn the talent Focus Magic will grant an ally a slight bonus to their spell critical hit chance. In addition, when the ally critical hits a spell, Arcane Mage receives the same boon for a short period of time. This seems like more of a PvE thing. It kind of reminds me of like the Boomkin talent, but we'll see. Wild Untamed Magic wends through the Shadowlands. Azeroth's most chaotic magic wielders cannot wait to channel it. Clear casting now has additional stack. Running Arcane Mage is even more capable of decimating their foes. Now extends its damage increasing properties beyond Arcane Blast and Barrage to all spells touching the Magi. Moves from its current place as a talent baseline arcane ability, which I think is fine. I don't really think it's that exciting. It just increases damage on a random proc, allowing wielders to target an enemy, whatever. New talent that rewards mana management. Honestly, I don't know how important this is. I'm going to be honest. I feel like Arcane's kind of boring with managing mana. You do more damage, but your spells cost more mana. It's not really a super interesting mechanic to me. I'm not saying it needs to be changed. It's literally always been that way. But yeah. Fire Mage is now more control over how and when they spread their Ignite with a redesigned mastery. I just think it's really funny right now because Ignite is literally completely like, you know, just spreads to everyone and does the most fucking damage ever. So it's like Fire mages now have more control when it should just say fire mages have control. Fire Blast now serves as the catalyst. When used against an enemy who is ignited, it spreads to up to 8 enemies close to your target. So it's literally the same thing. It's not control at all. You just Fire Blast and it just automatically spreads. Same exact thing. Fire Mage's talents are also getting a few updates to help promote different play styles based on the situation. Blast Wave now does more damage and increased slow duration. Blast Wave is over something like really crazy, right? Like I'm pretty sure if you pick Blast Wave, you don't get Shimmer, which is literally just Mage Suicide. So it doesn't matter. This could say fucking Greater Blast Wave or like God Blast Wave, and no one's gonna pick that over Shimmer. So the talent choices probably need to be switched up a little bit. For mages who want to watch the world burn, the cooldown reduction provided by kindling is increased, allowing the mage to get their combustion back faster. Well, that is just fan-fucking-tastic. I just can't wait to die every single go versus Rogue Mage with combustion up. All seriousness aside, sure, whatever, you know, interrupt fireballs, I guess. Don't let them get that up. Damage bonus by Pyroclasm grants is also being increased, making the reward for casting the next non-instant Pyroblast much more satisfying. Interesting. So this makes you want to hard cast Pyroblast, and those Pyroblasts are going to do a lot of damage. This sounds really strangely familiar. It's almost like a... How would I put this? It's almost like a greater Pyroblast. It's an interesting mechanic there. Frost Mages, in addition to mirror images and ultra time, mirror images are also pretty cool. You just like spam slow people and stuff. Have some cool new abilities. One noticeable change in Frostlands and Shadowlands is the Flurry Winter Chill debuff. Previously, Winter Chills was tied to Flurry movement speed, which created tight windows and required distance checks. I don't really understand what this is. Oh, I think it means you could shatter people with that, right? Moving to Shadowlands, Winter Chill is now a much longer debuff that causes the mage's next 2 spells to treat the target's frozen. Okay, debuff that increases the critical hit chance. Alright, so basically you can shatter people more often. That's fine. I think that Frostbolt needs to do more damage as well. Doesn't say anything about that there, but these are literally baseline, bare notes. Like, I'm not really going to pick it apart right now. Peter Pan, that's what they call me. I promise that you never be alone.